Welcome back to the Product Marketing Festival. As we prepare to unleash another exciting session, I just want to say a massive thank you to our partners, sponsors, you, and our ensemble of speakers and participants for helping us bring this event to life. I hope you are finding today's sessions insightful, and I want to remind you that the learnings don't stop here. If you haven't already, you can become a PMA member and benefit from unlimited access to exclusive templates, frameworks, mentors, our entire back catalogue of event content, and much, much more. What's more, you can continue the conversation in the PMA's Slack community. If you aren't already a member, then hop on over and join the discussions today. And remember, this is your chance to get involved. Please share your feedback and questions in the comments section for our speakers to answer. It really is that simple. Let's resume the sessions. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Product Marketing Festival. So just before we let you have a quick break, we have an awesome session for you from Sridhar Ramanathan from Eventi Group, and he's going to be talking all about how to write a killer value proposition. Again, this is one of our live sessions today, so feel free to ask all your questions and pop your comments in the chat box on LinkedIn, and I'll be putting these to Sridhar at the end of the session. So the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Rose. Wonderful to be here. Hello, everyone. Really appreciate the Product Marketing Alliance putting this on. We have lots of wonderful experts, leaders out there in the market. Today, I'm going to focus on how to write a killer value proposition. And I know all of you have written value props before. I personally have done probably hundreds over the last 25 years. So what I'm really going to share here today are some actual best practices from clients of ours that we have done and work with. And this is meant to be a very practical session, so I'm hoping this gives you some specifics you can take away. We have a template at the end to share. Let me start with what is a value proposition. I know you know this. One of my fellow Eventi partners, who is an amazing leader, formerly vice president at SAP, came up with this sentence, which is a value prop really speaks to the job that your product, your solution is intended to do. It's the promise. Ultimately, it is the promise or the benefit of your offering. Now, of course, this sounds pretty straightforward. I will tell you, and I'm sure many of you see this, a lot of times people write value props and it's really more of a feature statement or a technology statement. It's not really about value. So we're going to concentrate on value, specifically what is the value in the mind of the customer. Now, why is a value prop so important? I know you all know this, but one of the biggest benefits is getting people in your company and your business unit all on the same page. I'm sure you've all seen this. Sales folks have one idea of what the value prop is. Different people within marketing, definitely the engineering team, product management team, the executive team. You know, many times the value prop is not consistent. It's not well defined. People are not on the same page. And when that's the situation, then obviously a lot of your execution is flawed. There's a lot of money that's being spent that's not making an impact. So ideally, the value prop is something that you formally get approval on and becomes the foundation. It also sets the stage for your identity. What is it? What business? What category are you in? What market are you playing in? So as we talked about, it's foundational to all your sales marketing execution. The value prop should be, again, approved and used in all your execution. It also provides quite a litmus test or a focus because things will come up. The engineering team will come up with new product ideas, new features. You might have new technology alliances, new geographies, new partners. All of those have to sort of reinforce your value proposition. So this provides quite a bit of focusing. A value prop provides quite a bit of focusing. Now, there are many pieces of marketing. You all know this, but I want to be clear on where does a value proposition fit in your communications. So first off, it is the promise. It's the promise of the value that you're about to deliver. That is different from positioning. Positioning, as you know, is more about the position you want to occupy in the mind of the customer. A shortcut to that is the category. What category are you in? Are you a cybersecurity firm? Are you a HR SaaS company? Are you an infrastructure play? Are you a storage company? You know, sometimes positioning is similar to a category in the mind of the customer. So that's not a value prop, that's positioning. Next is messaging. Messaging nowadays, of course, marketers are very sophisticated. We message to specific audiences, specific personas. So messaging is meant to be crafted as a communication to those specific target personas. Again, that's not a value prop, that's messaging. And then lastly, a tagline. Sometimes people get confused on a value prop. Is that the same thing as a tagline? It is not. Tagline tends to be a short, catchy phrase, a statement, a kind of a sales selling point. A value prop really is this promise of the value to be delivered. Now, in this talk, I'm going to share with you some specific templates. Now, I also want to clarify value prop is not intended to be used as is by the salespeople or put up on your website immediately. It very much is a foundational statement that different folks are using. So copywriters will take the value proposition and turn that into copy for your website. Your branding team, when they're doing advertising and digital and media buys or ad copy, they're going to start with the value prop, among other things. They're going to need personas, they're going to need your branding strategy, etc. But the value prop is used by those professionals. Digital marketing, your campaigns team is going to need to, what is the value prop? To whom? Why should they care? All that is covered within the value prop. The designers are going to want to visualize, create a visual representation of your value prop, or actually create creative, different design, logos, images, graphics. All those elements should reinforce your value proposition. They should be consistent. So they are going to be consumers of your value prop. Marcom, your Marcom team, of course, they're going to need it for all kinds of execution, websites, social, search, etc. And then sales enablement, even the sales enablement team needs to use the value prop for sales training materials, for battle cards, for playbooks. So you'll notice here, one audience that's not here on the value prop is you don't want to hand it directly to sales. You don't want to give it straight to your web team to go put up on the website. It really is meant to be a foundational piece. So I want to make that clear up front. Now, there are three things that are key. If you're going to create a killer value prop, now everyone on this call has created value props, but if you want a killer value prop, here are the three whys to think about. It's almost like a litmus test. Number one, why? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? If you remember Michaela Gubbels-Bota in our team at Eventi, she posited that it's got to solve a specific job that a person is trying to achieve on the customer side. What problem are we trying to solve? Is it really worth solving that problem? Is it a nice to have? Is it a critical pain point? How high of a priority is it? We also want the value prop to speak to why now. It's the case for change or the case for action. And this includes status quo. A lot of times customers are fine. It's not enough of a pain to make a move. So we want the value prop to be compelling, to be actionable, to be urgent. So it needs to convey some level of urgency and maybe a little bit about the consequence of inaction. What if you don't, move forward, customer? Then what's at stake here? Third thing is why us? We need to get the differentiator in the value prop because it's not enough to say why now. You also want to distinguish why your company, your solution. And there's some claims. You're going to need to make some claims that should be defensible, should be backed up by proof points, should be concrete, measurable. And then that helps to reinforce the why we are the best option. So let's get into some real examples. I'm going to give you two flavors, a short version and a long version. And I'm going to give you three specific client examples. And these might be kind of templates for you all to think about. First example I'm going to use is a SaaS company. They're in the facility management software space. They're, full disclosure, they're a client of ours called 4Insight. They sell software to large organizations that have a lot of facility workers. So think of custodial staff, think of electricians, plumbers, landscapers, all those contract people or folks who come into buildings or facilities to maintain the facility. So this is the short version of the value prop. 4Insight helps organizations connect, analyze, manage, empower their frontline staff. Now, that's a very concrete, it may not sound exciting to you all, but I will tell you the persona that we're speaking to is dealing with these issues here. Let's go through this one by one. Manual processes. The current pain is facility executives, VPs, directors are fed up with a lot of manual processes, very disconnected tools, managing all these workers. And it could be literally hundreds of workers on site. With the pandemic going on, there's extra concerns about safety and compliance. And unions are concerned about the health and well-being of the workers. So the why is very compelling. You can't have that kind of situation. So you need ideally a SaaS solution that is built specifically for facility management. And why now? Because you're losing customers. There are customers that are unhappy with the quality issues. The bathrooms aren't totally clean, or the facilities are not being maintained, they're not safe, and the facility companies are choosing other competitors. So this gives you a little feeling about what the value prop looks like. Now, to get to this, we go to the long form version. So I know this is a little bit of an eye chart, so I'll just spend a moment to go through this. This is a tool that product marketing folks have used for decades. It's been around a long time. There's a Stanford professor, I think his name is Lynn Phillips, excuse me, who originally coined the long form value prop. I was a former HP executive. We were trained on this long form tool. This is just a tool for product marketing folks. You don't necessarily need to share this out with everybody. In this example I'm sharing with you for Insight, we start off with who are the target companies you're going after, large organizations that have a large frontline staff, at least 50 of those. So this is similar to the ideal customer profile. Who are they? These are companies that have some pain on quality, safety, compliance, union issues. And here's this is the positioning, the category for Insight is a facility management solution, it's a SaaS offering. That's the mental bucket. We want customers to think, oh, you're a SaaS offering or a software company. You're not a services company, you're a software company. So that's the positioning. Now this is what we're delivering. This is what 4Insight does. It's reporting, dashboard, mobile communications, all the stuff here. Now, the differentiator here is versus manual tools, which are a pain in the neck. They lead to all kinds of quality problems, compliance problems, safety problems. And there's an option which sometimes customers have internally developed software. So that's a competitor. That's the do nothing scenario. That's the status quo scenario. So the reason to go with 4Insight is it optimizes that facility workflow so that you can get higher quality. You can have higher quality, higher safety, higher compliance. These are the things that they care about, the outcomes. Notice we don't talk about feature function. We're talking about outcomes. We're driving higher quality. So that's one example of a long form. Again, it's a bit pedantic. It takes a lot of work to go through this. I want to give you another example. This is a security software company. I'm going to do the same thing. So here's the short version of the value prop statement. So a little context. Absolute is a security software company. If you have a Windows laptop, maybe it's a Dell, maybe it's an HP or a Lenovo, very likely you have this software running on your laptop. It's at the BIOS level. It's down almost at the metal. Now, this software is super important because it manages and secures data, devices, applications that are unbreakable. The key word here is unbreakable. On an endpoint means the device. That could be your laptop, as an example. Sometimes your laptop is off the internet. You're not online. And even in that scenario, this laptop is unbreakable. So let's go through our 3 whys. The first why is customers are looking to protect their data. They don't want to be hacked. They don't want privacy or information to get out. They don't want their devices to get hacked. Ransomware is a big deal now. You've all heard about the SolarWinds hack and many hacks going on that are damaging. So companies, organizations are afraid of being hacked. So that's a big why. Now, why us? Why Absolute? Well, the key word here is unbreakable. It really is unhackable because it's down at that almost metal level. It's at the BIOS level, which hackers can't get access to. Now, why us? Why now? I mean, why now? Well, can you afford to be hacked and wind up on the front page? You don't want to be the next story in the Wall Street Journal or online media. So this is a real fear that a lot of chief information security officers have. They don't want the board coming to them saying, why didn't you do something about this? So this is a super compelling solution, and this is a compact value prop statement. How do we get to this? Here's the long form version. Let me walk you through that. So at Absolute, they're targeting the IT organization, the IT asset management director, also security operations professionals. Those are the ones who's next on the line. They're the ones who will get fired if there's a breach, or they're the ones who will get promoted if their environment is really secure and very locked down. Now, what kind of organizations? This is not meant, Absolute was not targeting small businesses and end customers. They're really targeting the largest of organizations with thousands of users, thousands of mobile users. Now, who specifically? It's the IT organizations that are struggling with compliance. How do you protect all those endpoints? An endpoint, again, is a laptop. Typically, it's a laptop, iPod, your phone, any device where you're doing work. How do you guarantee 100% of those devices are secure, they're compliant? Well, Absolute, and this is the category. Remember, they're a firmware embedded application. They're software, but they're firmware embedded, unlike enterprise software security, for example, or unlike a SaaS cloud pure play solution. This is embedded application. That's the category, that's the positioning. And what Absolute involves is it finds those endpoints that are non-compliant, puts them back into compliance and repairs them. That's the job that the customer is trying to do. The IT person is trying to make sure all these devices are getting back in compliance. Because a lot of times they fall out of compliance. They don't have the latest patches, they don't have the latest antivirus, they don't have the latest OS updates. So that's the job the IT person is trying to do. And unlike traditional security patches, with a lot of times they fall out of working. When you go offline, those security patches are not enforcement. They're not working. They're not effective, or they're not costly, or they are costly. So what is key here is it's persistent, meaning even if you're online, offline, you reboot your machine, no matter what, that absolute embedded application is running. It's unbreakable. That's a really powerful value proposition statement, this idea of unbreakability. That's the core of the message here. The core of the value proposition is it's unbreakable, that connection. Oops, sorry. And that ensures a resilient environment. So as the customers are changing their desktops, things are happening, no matter what, that device is locked down. So that's the long form value prop we use. And again, this is used only by the product marketing team, this long form, in order to help the copywriters, the designers, the sales enablement team, also come up with the copy blocks that are necessary. So let's go through example number 3. Here's the third one. This is a large corporation, Unisys, and this is one of their services offerings. It's called Workplace Solutions. It's not software, it's services. It's actually a set of capabilities. The idea here is to engage, empower, and transform the digital workforce. Now, everyone nowadays is digital. We're all pretty digital warriors. Now, some companies are more digital or more reliant on productivity. So the why here, let's talk about the why. Lots of companies are investing heavily in remote access, in digital everything, digital workflows, and it's key for competition to stay ahead of your competition. So you need a company that is experienced, it's objective, that's not trying to say we are a services partner to help deploy this full digital workplace. And I'll go through that in just a second. Why now? Well, your competition is already moving to digital. They're already transforming their enterprise. So let us help you catch up and overcome and exceed your competition. So here again, we're going to look at the long form. This is what the product marketing team and we here at Aventi crafted. We start off with the target customer, the ideal customer profile. We are looking for large organizations that are super dependent on so-called knowledge workers. These are people who are primarily delivering information and analysis, and you're hiring them for very much their brains. Where is that important? In banks, insurance companies, manufacturing companies, high tech, life sciences, pharmaceuticals, all those companies are relying on scientists, engineering, financial analysts. So super important to make them productive. So those companies, we are targeting only the ones that are committed to digital transformation. They may even have a chief digital transformation officer. So we can look for clues that this target ICP, ideal customer profile, is going after digital transformation. So what is Unisys Digital Workplace? It's a services offering, starting off from advisory to implementation to managed services. This has a special meaning for customers who really need help. They're understaffed, they don't have the right expertise, they're short on IT, and they just really need help. So this is where services comes in. They have a proven capability, Unisys does, the whole digital lifecycle. Unlike traditional IT outsourcers that may be offshore, I won't name names, but you can guess a lot of the traditional IT outsourcing companies. What Unisys specializes in is industry experience. They have deep experience with financial services, banking, manufacturing. They're also neutral, meaning they're not trying to push one software solution or a set of software. They're really doing what's right for the customer. They're persona based, so they're different buyers within these enterprises. And they offer some pretty deep security. So these are some of the differentiators. All of these, by the way, have proof points behind them. And then lastly, well, who cares? So this is all great. Well, what impact is it going to have? This goes to the heart of the value prop. The value prop is about business value. We're going to drive higher productivity, and that's going to also improve their capital expenditure and operating expenses. So you do want to catch the so. The so is the business benefit. It's the why. Why does this matter? So those are 3 long form examples of customer value propositions. And I want to talk for a moment about it. There's a lot of work that goes into value props. And I know everyone here on today's call you've all created value propositions before. The thing to think about is how to make it really rigorous. So one thing we recommend is getting customer research to understand the pain points. Don't let just the product engineering, product management side talk just feature function. Product marketing is here to do a lot of research, customer research, to get to the pain points and why those matter. Why those pains need to be addressed? What's the business value? Also, interview sales and SEs. I love SEs, system engineers. They usually really know what's going on with regards to pain points. So the product marketing folks, we recommend when you're working on value props, definitely do original research. Talk to folks like salespeople and SEs and ask them what works, what's not working. Sometimes the feature function you think is important isn't so important. Competition, obviously, they're hammering on their own value proposition, so you got to nail your differentiators. So a bit of competitive analysis is very important to craft a value prop. Industry analysts, influencers, the Gartners, IDCs, Forresters, you have your own analysts who are watching your space. A lot of times it's good to test with them, confidentially test with them the value prop. And I think testing is super important. Before you finalize and recommend the value prop for approval, you want to give credibility to your internal teams by telling them, look, we've vetted this, we've tested this, not just with sales and SEs, but with customers, with analysts. We've even looked at competition, and we think this thing is really very strong. Now, one way to test your value proposition is we have a little 8-point test here, and I'll be wrapping up my talk here in just a second. Here's 8 questions to ask yourself. After you've created the long form version of the value prop or the short form, does it speak to a specific customer segment? Don't be generic like, oh, all large enterprises. We need to be specific. What industry, what size organization, what are there some of the pain points? So we don't want to be generic, we want to be specific. Is it customer specific? Is it all about you, the vendor, or is it all about the customer and their pain point? Does it resonate? So this is where testing is important. We need to know that this value prop actually is resonating. And how do you know? Because customers have told you. You've vetted this with at least 10 qualitative interviews and maybe hundreds of quantitative surveys. Differentiation, make sure you clearly state, including status quo, that's do nothing, including the do nothing scenario, where the customer is, yeah, it's a pain, yeah, but it's not enough to go do a purchase and a deployment. We don't want to go through the headache. So differentiation is important against sometimes your number one competitor is do nothing. It's people just saying I'm good enough. Is it believable? Is it credible? Is it emotional? By the way, a lot of times I see value props which are really engineering, very heady, very intellectual. That's great, but what drives the buying process, the buying journey, the buyer's journey is often the emotional driver. Sometimes in the security world, I deal with a lot of security software companies, cybersecurity. Fear is a big driver. You don't want to be talking about fear, but you want to understand that the chief information security officers, the IT folks, they're afraid of getting hacked. And that emotion is important to understand and acknowledge in your process. Sometimes the emotion may be excitement, it may be power or confidence. So tap into the emotion in your value prop. Language, sometimes we tend to speak jargon. I deal with a lot of B2B technology companies and they use a ton of acronyms. Try to stay away from that. Use words that customers use. So be careful about that. And then lastly, is it compelling? Is it credible? Is it clear? Your message testing will really confirm that. So we've gone through quite a bit of stuff. I want to turn it over to all of you on today's call. We have a little template on our website, the long form template and then the short form template. You can just click here and download that. This will be your little template for creating awesome, killer value propositions. So thanks everyone. Why don't we open it up now for questions? I know you have a break in a few minutes, so Rose, bring it on up, and let's go through them.
Absolutely, and that was a great session. And yeah, for anyone that missed it, I just shared the value proposition template link in the comment section of the video, so definitely go and check that out. It was really useful. We have a couple of questions.
Sure.
The first one I picked up was just quickly, what are the key differences between a value proposition and a mission statement?
Yeah, let's go back to that first slide. Mission statement is more around the why you exist. So if I were to add, that's a good one. I probably should have a fifth box here, which is mission. So mission, purpose. If you look at Tesla as a fun company, they're all about sustainability, energy sustainability. Their mission statement is, go look at Tesla. It'll say their mission is about energy, helping the world move to sustainability. They don't say electric vehicles. They don't say solar panels. They don't say, SpaceX. Their value proposition is a value of a specific offering. So like a Tesla car has a specific value proposition. Tesla, the company, the mission of the company is to help the world move to a sustainability scenario. So mission is about purpose. It's about why you exist. value prop gets to the point solution you have to offer. Does that help there, Rose? Does that
Yeah,
answer the question?
absolutely. Very
Thank you
clear.
for that tip. I'm going to add a fifth box here so people can see that. Yeah.
Totally. So this one's a bit lengthy. So to get to the why us, do you create customer problem statements to understand customers' biggest problems that you're solving? Or is there another way that you'd find out what differentiates you?
I think there are two pieces embedded in there. There's the customer's pain point, which is over here, the problem they're trying to solve, and then there's different competitive differentiation. So let's talk about the first one. It is super important. This is the job of the product marketing manager. This is why product marketing is here. This is why we exist. We're the voice of the customer. We have to be clear about the pain point, the problem. I have a whole blog post on that I can post later on here, Rose. But
Absolutely.
that's research. It's research. It's fundamental customer research. It's interviewing customers. When you're doing a customer testimonial, for example, really dig on what is the problem, the job the customer was trying to accomplish. Why was that difficult? What if you had a better solution? So to me, there's some rigorous work product marketing can do around the pain point. Differentiation is a lot of homework. It's a lot of competitive analysis, including do nothing. Remember, competition, your number one competitor could be absolutely do nothing. The key to do nothing is understanding how bad of a pain is it and how much of a priority is it to fix it. So I guess the short answer to your question is do your work on competition, know who they are, how do you differentiate? Your points have to be provable, defensible, measurable, concrete, specific. The differentiation has to be not generic, like, oh, we're better, we're faster, how much faster, how much better is important there. So I want to keep my answer kind of crisp, but let's separate the two buckets, customer pain point definition and research versus competitive analysis that has to be actionable.
Yeah, makes sense. And a lot of positive comments saying, yes, would love to see that blog post. So either share in the comments here, or obviously if you want to show your kind of how to get in touch with you slide again as well, then people can reach out to you directly as too, I'm sure. Okay, so we have a couple more questions just quickly that we can squeeze in. So do you have an example of how the value proposition, both short and long, translates into like the positioning and then the messaging? Someone is saying that they need to show the connection to their team who is learning how to move on from one to the next, but not just use the value proposition directly in the copy.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably should have shown the connective tissue, but the three examples I gave, and I know we'll be sharing the slide deck out, all of these you will see, let's say this long form at Unisys. If you go to the website and look up workplace solutions, the connective tissue is really the product marketing manager. It's much of their job to handle. Remember these three audiences? Let me go back to the audiences. Who are the people who are going to use, sorry. I apologize here. I'm just trying to get that slide again.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, here are the people. So let's put in your example, you have a long form statement and you're working with the copywriter. Let's suppose the copywriter is creating a web page. You want to sit with the copywriter to explain the long form value proposition, work with them, have them come up with a draft, and you review it and edit it before they put up that web page. So, or maybe it's a data sheet, or maybe it's a white paper. It really is a collaboration between the product marketing manager and whoever you're working with to express and bring that value prop to life in the different environments. So for example, let's suppose you're working with your social media team and they're doing a LinkedIn campaign, an ABM campaign, campaign marketing campaign, and you've got your value prop, and the digital marketer, social media person's trying to target a specific persona, let's say the CIO. You want to give them some creative latitude. Like, what do you think? Can you come up with a draft? And let's work together on making sure that your draft social media execution is consistent with the value prop. What you don't want to do is throw it over the wall. You don't want to take this value prop and say, hey, graphics person or copywriter or brander or digital, now go to it. It's not a throw over the fence. It's a collaboration. Work with them, let them come up with the draft, you review it, refine it, and then they can run. So you have to invest some of your time to coach them, work with these internal colleagues before you throw it over the fence. And then ultimately, they need to own all these. You're empowering a lot of people to own the execution of the value prop. So you want to invest in these colleagues of yours to make sure they've got it. That's a way to scale your time. Hope that answered your question there, Rose, or the participant. Thank you for asking.
Definitely. And on the flip side as well, just while we've got you talking about this subject area, there's someone actually that brought up from the perspective of the sales team using the value proposition. So they're saying that they struggle to get the sales team to understand that the value prop isn't necessarily something that they should be using, isn't something that they use, sorry. But yeah, they want to have something like a value statement to be using in their conversations with prospects and customers. What else can they do to help them understand how to use a value prop? So yeah, that's from a sales perspective.
From the sales perspective, the biggest favor you could do, remember, don't just send the long form value prop to the salespeople. That's not fair because you're making them do a lot of work. What is better, more effective is this is what salespeople really want to know. What is the problem that my customer prospect is trying to solve? Why should they move now? And why does this matter? Right? And then why us, which is the differentiation. So think about, I'm a salesperson, I'm a seller, I'm a sales rep, for example, an account executive, for example, or maybe I'm a sales development rep, SDR. What I need is maybe it's a talk track, it's a little cheat sheet, it's a little one pager, or maybe it's a sales playbook. That document better tell me the why my prospect should care, why now, and why us. If you can answer those three questions for the salesperson, you're there. That is the bulk of this. Now, how you do that is a value proposition statement, but don't take the statement by itself. Remember, it needs to be turned into a sales asset, and the asset might be a sales playbook. It might be a battle card, competitive battle card, where you have, here's the pain point we're solving for differently than any of our competitors. It might be in a sales script, a little talking point sheet that an SDR uses. So we have to work backwards. What tool is the sales rep using? A lot of times they're in Chatter, Salesforce Chatter, or they might be in Slack talking to fellow reps. In that chatter, you want to give them some tools, a little intranet page, like a wiki page that says why now, why us. If you can answer those three things, you've gone a long ways. Just don't send the value prop to them directly. That's why sales enablement team is so important. The sales enablement team should be translating the value prop into these three expressions. Hope that answers that question.
Definitely. So they're the missing link. That definitely makes sense.
They're the missing link.
Yeah, and we are just about out of time, but I'm going to squeeze in one last question because there's so much interaction in the chat. Yeah, Krista is asking, do you find a certain tone resonates better when crafting your value prop?
Yeah, the tone, no matter what, take the high road. So the tone, this depends on the persona you're talking to. Remember, who you're speaking to, you want to speak in their language, their emotions. Let's go back to that last slide here. So the tone, let's go back to the tone. What tone should it be? Well, customer language, customer focus. Sometimes the tone needs to be very assertive, very direct, very hard, depending on your audience. So like, for example, if you're talking to a chief information security officer, you don't want to come in strong, talking, scaring. You don't want to use scare tactics, for example, for chief information security. You want to talk about empathy. Like, hey, I know you're losing security staff because you're churning, or I know you're way shorthanded, right? So the tone should be empathetic, it should be understanding, yet a little pointed because you want them to take some action. Now, a different persona, maybe the chief HR officer, CHRO, that tone might be a very different tone. That might be much more warm, empathetic, compassionate, friendly. It's a different kind of a tone. Maybe you're speaking about things like diversity initiatives that are going on nowadays, equity and diversity. That tone is going to be very friendly and maybe a little bit business oriented. Another tone might be if you're selling to a security architect, or let's say an architect, a technical architect, they really care about facts and figures and data, and they want, show me, prove it to me, hard numbers and data. So that might be more of a logical tone. So think of tone in terms of different emotional vectors, confident, strong, warm, friendly, business oriented. Sometimes it could be very logical, brainy, intellectual. So start again with understanding your customer. How do they speak? What words do they use? What tone does the customer have on their website? So those would be some of my thoughts. Remember, it's always outside in. Start with the outside. Start with that customer. Be the voice of the customer. Be the customer. And say, how would you want to be spoken to if you're that customer? And then work backwards. Don't let the engineering team or product management team, strong arm you into telling or talking the way they think, because they may not be right. That's your job.
Absolutely. And a tough job it is too, which is why we're here. So I just want to thank you so much for all your
Oh,
time and effort, Sri. That was very generous of you to kind of run through all those questions.
loved it.
Trust me when I say there's plenty more in the chat, there is. So anybody who hasn't had their question asked, definitely connect with Sridhar either on LinkedIn or by email. You can see his details on the screen now. So yeah, what a fantastic session. Thanks again for your time. And we will be back live with another session in just 20 minutes time. So have a breather, stretch your legs, and yeah, we'll be back.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Product Marketing Alliance team. You guys are the best. We love you.
Thank you so much.
Product marketing folks. See ya. Bye-bye.